I wanted to be able to make my contribution matter to more than just myself. And then I wanted to compete for Team USA. What does that mean to represent these other guys on your team and to represent your country? I'm someone that says yes to those challenges and wake up and says, I can still achieve even though things are not optimal. So I enjoy the hard aspects of running things and physically running a team. And so for me, it's the challenge that comes along with it is something I kind of crave. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that if it was just sitting the standard. Whatever the minimum standard was not going to allow me to reach my maximum human potential.
Dave, welcome to the Jedburgh podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. Good to be here.
We're sitting backside of the Army truck right now, escaping the heat and the sun. So we're like Dave, 5 into this thing. We've experienced every variation of how the sun hits this whole set that we've created.
I think we're lucky right now.
Yeah.
We are very lucky.
Cloud cover. I'm
right
not going to
now.
complain at all. It's great.
Yeah, we've had a couple of fried days,
Yep.
including a pretty vicious workout on the turf a little while ago. So we're in full recovery mode right now.
Chilling.
So thanks for joining us. I know
Of course.
we've actually been looking forward to this conversation for a while. So
Yeah,
we
me too.
first met you at Wadapalooza.
Yep.
And every time I turned around and Jessie was gone, and I'd say, "Where's Jessie?" They'd say, "Oh, she went to the Power Monkey bars and the rings."
Not because of us, just because we had our ring thing up, and I think just like a little playground, a little separation, be able to get upside down on the rings.
The ring thing is awesome.
Yeah.
I love the ring thing.
That's
I like you
100%.
guys too.
Oh yeah, but the ring thing,
I mean,
understand
you're not wrong.
where
It's a
our
really
place
cool
is.
device.
It makes everybody feel like a superhero. You know, you're already a superhero, but you know, play around with things you've never done before.
Proper rigging gives you superpowers.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, you and I were talking a couple days ago about how are we gonna present Power Monkey, right? How are we going to talk about your career? And we talk about leadership all the time on the podcast, and we want to tell these inspirational stories of people who have done these great things for you in athletics and then moving on to build a business that's really making an impact not only on those who want to enter into gymnastics, but also the work that you're doing with transitioning athletes and bringing them in, developing them as coaches, right? Creating that community, because so many times when we make that transition, we lose so much of ourselves. But I want to start at the beginning.
Yeah, sure.
And go back. You were a competitive gymnast. You spent time on the national team. Talk about getting into gymnastics and what drove you to do that.
I started when I was 6. I grew up in New Jersey. I was actually very fortunate.
Sorry about that, by the way.
Are you kidding me? It's one of the most things I'm proud of in my life, growing up in Jersey. I have a ton of Jersey pride. My whole team will tell you, I love Jersey. I'm all
9
about
out
it.
of 10 people that I say that to say, "Oh, I know. I love that you defended it."
I'm diehard Jersey through and through. I don't live there anymore, but I will forever be a Jersey boy. But I did a ton of sports growing up. My dad was very into soccer. My brother played soccer, but baseball, basketball, I wrestled for a long time, and gymnastics was one of the sports that I played growing up. And started when I was 6. I was just very fortunate that down the block from my house was one of the best boys programs in the whole country. Surgeons Elite Gymnastics just happened to be 3 blocks from my house, walking distance. So when I walked in, I remember the day, October 12th, 1986. First day I walked into gymnastics gym. Kind of weird with dates like that.
To be specific.
Yeah, and it changed my life. I remember the smell of the chalk in the air and being able to be like, this is where I want to be. I loved seeing these kids jump around and flip and do handstands and do all the stuff that, to me, made them feel like superheroes. To be able to do things that 99% of the other kids I was going to come in contact with weren't able to do. So I loved the other sports. I loved being on team sports, things like that, but the gymnastics one that stuck. And I continued to play all those other sports until I got to my sophomore year of high school. Even freshman year, I played soccer. And then, which is a little bit later than most other kids in terms of just dedicating to one sport. But I like being able to be with other kids and feel like I had this separation. And by the time I hit midway through high school, gymnastics was where my focus was. And then from then on, kind of really took a hold. I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Stanford University, moved out to California from Jersey. And I don't know how in-depth you want to go from there, but kind of grew from there.
I want to dig into that a second, because so often we talk about team building when we talk about leadership and being effective on a team and what do you look for in your teammates. But I want to talk for a second with both of you really about individual sports and what it takes to compete at a high level when it's you. And you're the one who's in the limelight.
Yep.
You're not there on the field with 8, 10, 11 other people.
It's very similar to what these guys are competing here this weekend at the CrossFit Games, right? You're out there by yourself. But I will tell you that for as much as gymnastics is an individual sport, what I love about gymnastics is the team aspect. It's the thing that I was driven to, and what wanted me to compete at a higher level was a team aspect. I wanted to compete for a collegiate team. I wanted to be able to make my contribution matter to more than just myself. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to compete for Team USA. What does that mean to represent these other guys on your team and to represent your country? So for me, as much as gymnastics is considered to be an individual sport, you watch Simone Biles, you watch these incredible athletes on TV, I guarantee you, for almost all of them, they will tell you that their team experiences matter more than what they do in an individual perspective. All the medals that they win on the individual side will pale in comparison to the medals that they win on the team side of things. So for me, everything I've ever done was for the greater collective. What can I do to contribute to this greater cause? And what's important about that to me is if you win a medal on your own, you share that with yourself. And maybe you have a support team, your coaches and your family that are there supporting you. But when you win something as part of a team, that's a shared experience. That's something you have for the rest of your lives together. I guarantee you, if I saw one of my 08 team members from Beijing here together, it's like family. Yeah. They are brothers to me. We went through something together that no one will ever be able to take away from us. If you're doing that by yourself, you don't have that shared experience. And to me, it's something missed on only an individual sport.
Talk about the competition, the inner team competition, right? And pushing each other, because as much as you're a team and you want to see each other perform and you're going to push each other to perform, you're also competing against each other on the scoreboard.
Sure, and that's something I ask on our podcast. I always ask these individual athletes too, the ones that are in situations like a Proven or like a Mayhem athlete or an HWPO, where every day you're with an athlete that you're competing against out on the competition floor. Does that enhance or increase the level of daily competition to the point of it making it mentally fatiguing? Is it too much?
Right.
And we had that at the training center. I had lived the Olympic Training Center for 4.5 years, and every day I saw the guys I was going to have to compete against to make an Olympic team. And for us, it drove us to be better, right? I knew what my competition was looking like on a daily basis. It gave me the ability as an individual to say, I have to outwork these guys, because I was not talented. I was not a talented gymnast. I was basically fairly average. So anything I needed to do to be able to catch up to those guys that were supremely...
I think your definition of average is probably different than the average person.
Comparatively to the guys that I was competing against. I had to make up ground. So for me, seeing them on a daily basis let me know, what are they doing? How can I chip away at this? What are the extra hours I need to put in? I was first guy there, last guy to leave. My work ethic was something I leaned into. And so for me to be able to see where they were at on a daily basis really helped me to understand kind of where I was kind of placing on a daily basis to be able to compete. Yeah. It's fatiguing for sure, but for me it was actually a strength.
How do you stay focused on that, on the extra work? Because this is something that I think is so critical when you talk about achieving elite performance, right? We can go out there and we can go to the prescribed practice. I work with collegiate athletes a lot, and I consistently tell them, your coach has literally a defined set of hours by NCAA regulation that they can spend with you. Same in the NFL, same for the professional sports. But if you think that you're going to be on that podium and you're going to wear that medal, if you start and end on your coach's time, you're absolutely wrong.
Voluntary hours. I coached Stanford for a couple of years after I was done competing, and it's something I would deal with the guys, like, you have to be here a certain number of hours, and depending on what your goals are, there are additional hours that might be necessary to be able to achieve those things. One, I think it has to do with your level of commitment to what the goals are. What are your goals for yourself? Do you really want to achieve excellence in terms of what you think your body is capable of performing? My goal was always to achieve my human potential, to reach my human potential. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that if it was just sitting the standard. Whatever the minimum standard was not going to allow me to reach my maximum human potential. And I learned this from one of my idols in the sport, John Roethlisberger, 3-time Olympian, one of the American greats in the sport. He owns the facility where we have our Power Monkey camp out in Tennessee, still very tied to the sport. And he was all about that. He was another guy that was not super talented, but he maximized his human potential by the way that he worked. And I wanted to be able to do that. So that meant extra hours, making sacrifices, not doing holidays. And I didn't see my family for a number of years when it came to holidays. I lived by myself. And I will say that while those sacrifices are critical, very, very important, it also led me to break down. Before the 04 games in Athens, I just missed out on the Olympic Games, was in the part of the Olympic squad that they picked from. I actually did go out to Athens to be with the team. But I took it so far that I kind of had a breakdown. I
Physically, mentally,
more mentally,
emotionally.
Like, looking back, I did it all wrong. Like, physically, I went as far as I possibly could. I was in the gym, sleeping in the pits at the gym. I just thought that if I went overboard, that it showed my coaches and my teammates that I wanted it more than they did. But I had nothing left physically, emotionally. And I told myself over the next 4 years I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to allow myself to go through that mental hell so that I could create more of a structure around just an overall well-being. And so I moved to Olympic Training Center, and I created a way for me to be able to separate from the training. And that's what I think a lot of athletes need to be able to do. You need to be able to do things outside of your sport to make sure that when you're in the gym, you're maximizing that time. Now, some of it was that I was getting older. You know, I ended up being the old man on the team, injuries, and I was 28, 29 when I retired, and that's fairly old for male gymnasts.
That's crazy.
They called me the grandpa of the team back then. And so for me to be able to actually physically stay capable, I needed to create a separation, find a hobby outside of the gym. Mine was art. I was into wine. I wasn't drinking a lot while I was training, but it gave me the ability to separate from the gym a little bit, so my mind was not constantly occupied with performance. So that when I was in the gym, I was fresh. I was able to make sure that every turn really counted, and that was a learning process. I always look back and be like, man, if I would have known about that when I was 20, how much more would I have been able to get out of my training? But for me, having something to separate from and able to make those sacrifices at the same time are what I think athletes need to be able to do to be able to maximize that human potential.
Yeah, I was definitely missing that piece when I was in college as well. I'm impressed
Always
that
training?
you figured it out. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had a formula for how many times I had to multiply the reps that I was given by my coach to
Make it sufficient?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had very similar burnout. But I don't think I put the pieces together as well as you did.
How old were you when you retired?
From gymnastics?
No, from pole vaulting.
22.
Okay, so right after college you were done?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't find it until I was after done. I actually didn't make national team until I was post-college. Mm-hmm. So the last competition I was going to compete in, I was going to retire, I made my first national team. And then I ended up staying around for another 6+ years.
Oh, wow.
So I told myself, if I don't make national team at this Winter Cup, 2003, I'm going to be done. And I had the best meet of my life, and I made national team, and it kind of skyrocketed from there. But yeah, after college, it was a little bit of a no man's, and I'm sure we're going to get into it, but what do you do when you're no longer an athlete kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's like every round of golf that I play, and then on the 18th hole,
that one
yeah,
shot.
you have the
Come back,
exactly.
baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be back here next week.
Yeah.
This is awesome, and then it's like a year later that you're back on the course doing the same thing.
For sure.
You do CrossFit for 2 or 3 months, you might not see the numbers change on the scale, you might not feel like, but if you can show people with data, like you're actually improving, you just hit a PR, you're getting better.
Gym owners were able to just basically click a button and get all the resources and tools that we were using for our gyms at a fraction of what it would cost them.
Like if gyms provide a better product on the floor by having better coaches, their business is going to be healthier. They're going to have better retention and have all those other features, and coaching is a skill that needs to be developed. We are, I would argue, the most product-focused company in our space, and the way we create value is by we build products. In 2012, we told gyms to put TVs on their walls, and we got laughed at an event. And go in any CrossFit gym in the world now, and you're probably going to see a TV on the wall. But we're just constantly pushing the envelope with innovation.
Talk about the experience on the Olympic team, because it is an honor to be on the team. You really are you're at the best level, and the international exposure. You get to go to these awesome places. You're with the best of the best. But you also talked about the burnout and the emotional side of that. Think about Simone Biles. You brought up her name.
Sure.
But
competing today, actually. Yeah.
Oh,
she's coming back. Today is our first competition back at Core Classic, just in Chicago.
Really?
Oh,
2 hours down the road. She's competing tonight for the first time since Tokyo.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible. What talk about the experience though. I mean, what takes you from a collegiate athlete to then take that next step and say, "Yep, I'm ready to go."
How much time you got? This is gonna. This is a. So my Olympic experience.
The sun's
was
behind the thing,
fairly
so I got a
unique.
while.
My Olympic experience was fairly unique in that I was part of the team, but I didn't compete. And I was national champion the year before the Olympics in 2007. Kind of a lot of pressure that comes along with that being
What was
the
your
top guy.
specialty?
I was a good all-arounder. So I was all-around national champ. I was more of an upper body guy. I've had 3 blown up knees, ACL, MCL, meniscus over the years. So lower body events were not really my strength. Floor vault, pommel horse, rings, parallel bars, high bar, a little bit stronger in those areas. But I was pretty good across the board. Like somewhere I could contribute to the team in a variety of areas. But then the Olympic process, I'll try to go through this relatively quickly, but give some context in terms of how the process plays out. We have a couple qualifying competitions that lead to how they do an Olympic selection. So no longer is it you compete and where you place, you make the team. There's a selection group that picks the team. So there are 1 or 2 automatically qualifying spots if you hit all these targets. If you finish in the top 2 in the all-around, if you finish top 3 on 3 events, you have to do these at these qualifying competitions. In any case, the year in 2008, the 2 Hamm brothers, who are pretty famous within our sport, 3-time Olympians themselves, Paul Hamm, Olympic gold medalist in 2004, first time that's ever happened in our sport. So these are kind of legends in our sport. Both of them had made a comeback, and both of them were named to the Olympic team at our Olympic trials. Me and 2 other athletes were named as the reserve athletes, the alternates. But we knew that Paul had broken his hand at our national championship, but they put him on the team in hopes that he would get better because he was so good. He was so far above everyone else that if he was healed, he would be able to contribute. Unfortunately, he didn't heal up in time. So we had another Olympic procedure where we had to show readiness at the Olympic Training Center and show routines. I hit all my routines. I did very well at those. I had some mistakes at Olympic trials that cost me an automatic spot. Fell on pommel horse where I was going to contribute quite a bit. And I thought I would be one of the ones selected. They selected Raj Bhavsar, one of the 3 of us. So we went through another selection that normally doesn't happen. Then when we got to Beijing, we were in China, and the day before opening ceremonies, Morgan Hamm, the other Hamm brother, pulled out as well for another injury. Now this does not happen. Like you never have, rarely do you have 1 alternate go in, let alone 2. So the night before the Olympic Games, they had me and the other alternate, Sasha Artemev, show readiness on 2 events because they were the ones where we needed most help, floor and pommel horse. Both of us were not great on floor. Hit my floor routine, contribute as much as I can in that space.
And this is basically your coaches bringing you in saying, show me
the
what you got.
The night before opening ceremonies, we had to do another 2 routines at the Beijing Olympic Training Center where the Chinese train. We had to go in and show with the judges, with uniforms on. We had to show readiness, basically perform and hit to be able to show that we're ready to compete. Came down to pommel horse.
No pressure.
And I hit great routine. I'm pretty good on pommel horse, probably top 3 in the country at that point if I hit a routine. And Sasha is one of the best in the world on pommel horse, but he's sporadic, doesn't hit as much. Both me and him were known for hitting good routines. He was a world medalist on pommel horse, and he hit as well, and they picked Sasha to go in. So it was this roller coaster. I'm going to be in, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be in, I'm going to be going out. And it was incredibly mentally draining. Like, I remember being in the Olympic Village the night before opening ceremonies and just being told that we weren't going to go in, that Sasha was going to be picked, and just having another breakdown, just bawling, just being like, and I had a decision in that moment. Standing there in the village, being told I wasn't going to go in the day before the beautiful opening ceremony of Beijing, and deciding, okay, I've seen how other people have reacted to being an alternate in the situation in the past, and it taking away from the team's objective and making it about them. And I never wanted to do that. So in that moment I said, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to make this team succeed. I'm going to carry water bottles. I'm going to carry the team bags. I'm going to make sure the team is ready to go. And I just said, I will be here for the team to succeed. And that was just my decision to be able to say, it's not about me, it's about the team. And I wiped tears, I called my brother, and I said, this is what's happening. I just want to, my whole family was out in Beijing with me, and I said, the team is going to succeed. And some context as well, nobody thought we were going to do well. Everybody thought we were going to be a terrible performance at the Olympics. Nobody thought we would finish in the top 12. We had a lot of confidence in ourselves. We thought we were all new to the Olympics. Every one of us had never been on an Olympic team before. Raj had been an alternate in 2004, but that's it.
Rare in itself.
It is. We didn't have really any turnover. Paul and Morgan were our only former Olympians. So it was a completely new squad. And we went out, and those 6 guys that performed out on the floor with me up in the stands cheering my ass off, had one of the most impressive performances I've ever seen from any Olympic team in history. In fact, I would encourage listeners, you guys, to go back and watch that performance in team finals, what those 6 guys did. And Sasha hitting the last routine on the last event was pommel horse. And he hit one of the best routines you'll ever see from a male athlete in Olympic Games, and it secured a bronze medal for our team. And that bronze was like a gold medal for Team USA.
Yeah.
I still get chills thinking about the moment. And the very cool part of that story is Sasha was kind of a kid at the time, 20, 21, superstar athlete, so capable, but a little bit of a kid mentally. And he forgot his uniform at the Olympics. So he had to use my uniform that day. So my uniform was being performed by Sasha out on that. So I feel very much like I was out on the floor with him that day. I just told him when he got down, I was like, I want the fucking uniform back. You better give that thing back to me, and I have it hanging in my house right now. So what the team did out there, I feel so much still a part of that team. This year is a 15-year reunion. I got invited out to San Jose for the reunion of that Olympic team happening in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I can't go. We have another event. But that team is still very close to my heart. While the experience for me personally turned out differently than I had imagined, being part of that team and watching that team on that podium with a bronze medal was a gold medal performance in my mind still. Yeah.
What a great attitude.
Yeah, I mean, the team will forever always, the only thing that matter to me, and it's still how I present things in terms of how we do things with Power Monkey today.
Yeah. It's just such an important life skill because you worked so hard. It didn't go the way you expected, and you just made the best of it, and it became an incredible experience. Yeah.
It made me the person I am today.
Yeah.
That experience made me who I am today and how I deal with every piece of adversity because of how I handled the situation. So I'm actually very proud of how I handled it, and
Yeah.
I still, my experience was different. I don't consider, I'm not an Olympian. I'm an Olympic team member in terms of how you can actually use that name, but I still am very proud of how things turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
I want to ask you about doing hard things.
Doing
hard things.
Yeah.
We had a chance yesterday to sit down with Chris Hinshaw, and great conversation about aerobic capacity,
Sure.
lactic acid threshold, and I went real deep on rowing because I was a collegiate rower at Division I level, and I truly believe that I would not have been a Green Beret if I had not rowed in college because of the fact that you are forced to push yourself as an individual further than you think you can, much sooner than you ever think you can. And every day when you leave training and you say, I can't do more, you go back the next day and somebody says, well, if you want to win, you got to do more. Gymnastics is very much like this. And when I compare it, I'm talking about the burn.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking of you on something like the rings.
Yeah.
Right, where that burn, that lactic acid buildup, is really becoming forefront in your mind. And our job as elite athletes is to find the point in time in which we can push that failure point further and further. But also it's the mental side of understanding I have so much more to go before I truly am there. Talk for a second about that burn, training yourself to increase that time span between this is starting to hurt and now my arm is literally stuck like
Total
this.
fail,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how much you can teach that, that push beyond that failure point. I think some of it's innate. Within this space, in the CrossFit world, you see it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's part of the nature of the sport. The people that gravitate towards wanting to be a CrossFit athlete are the type of athlete that really do that. They're used to pain. They enjoy the discomfort that comes along with doing a Murph or whatever the prescribed workout is that day.
That one's horrible.
That was, I love doing Murph.
Horrible.
I did 30 days of Murph last year. It's one of my favorites. I love doing hard things like that. But I don't know if you take someone that despises that and turn it into someone that loves it, you know? But I do think you need it to be able to succeed at high levels. Now,
you need to be able to succeed in life.
Exactly. So maybe it's, for some people, it's not always a physical push to the brink. Sometimes it's a mental push to the brink. And for me right now, I still enjoy doing that. I still I'll talk to my team every week and be like, I did something stupid this week. I did 1,000 burpees for time. I did 1,000 presses to handstand. They're always like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I enjoy seeing whether or not my body is physically and my mind can push past what I think is physically possible.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy doing that from a physical standpoint, but I notice it happening a lot on the business side too. Because running a small business right now, I come up to those barriers all the time of, I don't think we can keep going. Like, I don't think we have the ability to go past this point. And it's like, we figure it out. Yeah. You figure it out. All right? Small budget, we figure it out. In the same way that you figure out how to go over another burpee and do another burpee or run another mile.
Yeah. You're describing my days.
Yeah, right? I think we were talking about our call the other day. Just saying, like, sometimes it's like, I don't think I have it in me to wake up another day and do this.
Yeah.
And then you say, you know what? I absolutely am. I'm built to do this. If I'm not, who is, right? And so for me, it comes from having done it as an athlete and translating that into other aspects of my life. Being a dad now, having 2 kids and waking up and getting punched in the face by my 3-year-old all night, every night, saying, Allison, who's one of your team members here, Allison Brager, Dr. Allison Brager, is telling incredible neuroscientists on the sleep side, 7.6 hours of sleep is optimal, 8+ hours is optimal. Well, I get 4 of good hours, and my daughter's kicking me in the face. Can I still wake up every day and run a business and get a workout in with what I have available to me? It's very easy to say no, but at the same time, I'm someone that says yes to those challenges and wake up and says, I can still achieve even though things are not optimal. So I enjoy the hard aspects of running things and physically running a team. And so for me, it's the challenge that comes along with it is something I kind of crave. So I don't know if it's something you can teach. I hope that it is, because I don't want it to be something that's just innate. Yeah. But I know the physical side, it's sometimes hard to see people kind of overcome unless you do a small incremental step and say, can you get out of this chair 10 times? Let me just see if you can do that. You thought maybe that's impossible, and you did it. Maybe tomorrow we'll take on 11 and see if we can just slowly build up on these things.
Yeah. Do you remember when Flip told us how he teaches his kids? So one of our ninja friends, Flip, he trains lots of ninja kids, and so he'll have them test their dead hang. And he'll be like, you're going to hang on this bar as long as you can. I don't care if you scream. I don't care if you cry. You're not coming off of this bar. And he has these 6-year-old kids, tears streaming down their face, but they won't give up. And so they're like crying until their fingers peel off. And these kids get up to like 30 minutes.
Oh my God, that's insane.
I never heard anything like it. It was nuts.
Because they are so used to pushing themselves in that way. And it was just really cool to see how he's teaching the kids to have that. Yeah, I
love hearing that. I think we're in a world right now where it's a little bit harder to push kids to the point of like, we're pushing them too much. Is it not a safe environment anymore? But for me growing up, I was pushed like that. Like I was put in an environment that was challenging and made me kind of appreciate the shittiness that comes along with having to struggle. So I love that mentality. You know, sometimes tears are too much. Sometimes tears are okay as part of the process, right? Yeah. And there's this kind of balance. But I love the idea of being able to push people to the brink and say, you're probably going to be able to go a little bit further than you think. Yeah, love that.
So much farther. Yeah. One of my favorite parts of gymnastics is how it forces us to face our fears. Oof. Do you have any strong mental blocks that you had to overcome and lessons you gained from it?
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of the sport. I mean, it's terrifying. There's a lot of fear. Yeah. And it's scary. I mean, you're sometimes 15 feet in the air, flipping and twisting, having to re-catch an apparatus, or throwing yourself through the air, double twisting, double flipping, landing perfectly in one place. I mean, the perfect example is what happened to Simone Biles in 2021 in Tokyo, which she had what's known as the twisties, right, in the gymnastics world. When you lose air sense, you lose the ability to kind of know where you are within space. And
why does that happen?
How does it happen?
Why does it happen?
I don't know. It just does. And sometimes it happens with enough time to figure it out, and sometimes in cases like Simone, it happens right before you're about to get up for raise your hand in the Olympic Games, and it's tough to figure out. Sometimes it takes a turn to figure out. Sometimes it takes weeks or months. Sometimes you never figure it out. And every gymnast goes through it in some form or fashion, some more severe than others. And leading up to Beijing, it happened to me on a movement on high bar, a release move. Not a super challenging movement. One's called the Tkachev, or reverse hack, where you release over the bar and then you just like straddle over the bar and then you catch it again. And what I was doing is I would come over and I would miss and I would do a front flip out of it. And I had this little tick that was forcing me to do a front flip, and You would never do that. Never. In fact, it would potentially force you to land on your head most of the time. And I couldn't stop myself from flipping out of it. And it was really just having this added hiccup to the already complicated and stressful training environment to have to go through this. And long story short, the best way to deal with these mental challenges is to take a step back. To always go back to a part of the process in terms of learning that particular movement where you're comfortable with that skill. That's why progressions are so important. As a coach, as someone that understands how to teach, progressions are part of the building process, not only so you can have a stepping stone forward, but also so you can step a stone backwards. So if something does kind of get in the way and you have this little, mental twitch that happens, you have the ability to go back, okay, I can go back to this step of the process, feel comfortable, and then go back up that step again. And be able to I can go from, step A to step B and just build back up from there. So if you have good progressions and a good coach that can help navigate those mental barriers, that's the way to do it. Go back to something that feels comfortable and build back up from there. So progressions are a critical step in getting over these mental challenges. I don't know if you felt the same way in terms of maybe you dealing with some mental barriers that came up.
Yeah, for me it was just a layout full. Just a full-on floor. I just wanted to twist so early.
Right off the ground.
Right off the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
But going back a step, was that helpful for you? Like, let's work on layouts. Let's go work on layouts.
Yeah, it took a few cycles because I started lying to myself. So I went back, I'd do layouts. The layout would be fine. I'd do a half.
Yep.
The half would be fine. I'd decide to do a full and go too early.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay, what if I'm just going to do a half?
Yeah.
I'm just going to do a half, but in the back of my head I was
full.
I'm really going to do a full.
Yeah.
And so then it became, I'd say I'm going to do a half. I meant I was going to do a half, but I'd think I was tricking myself, and then I would do a full too early. And then I'd like, every time I tried to do a layout, I'd do a early full. And so it was like, I don't remember how we eventually resolved it.
Yeah. That's a very common mental gymnastics that happens with these skills.
Yeah.
It happens quite often in the sport of gymnastics. It's not something that's easy to overcome too. So again, context, watching Simone and people saying, you're the best in the world, just go and do it. The things that she's doing then and still now are from another planet.
Yeah.
Like, she's leaped generations of what current gymnasts are doing so much that to ask her to just figure it out is bonkers. You have no idea what you're talking about if you think it's just something you can figure out in a turn or two. So some appreciation for really the complexity that goes along with what she's doing in relation to, how long it takes to figure these things out.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you were to jump up in the air and spin as much as you could. If you jump and do a half turn, easy, right? Jump and do a full turn. You know where you are. Jump and do a double turn. Can you keep track of where you are the whole time? How about a triple turn? Okay, now imagine you're flipping and doing a triple turn. Or doing a double flip with a triple turn. It's like there's so many different planes of movement. And like the whole world is moving. How do you keep track of it?
Right, because you got to land on your feet.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Don't die.
Consequences are high.
Don't die. Then land on your feet. And then stick the landing,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about transition.
Sure.
Because the fun's got to come to an end at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got to take on the new challenge, right? And you talked about the mindset that you have of going in. And so when I talked to Dave last week, he picked up the phone. First of all, he had to text me because I was in like complete disarray, and he's like, "Hey, I'm on the call. Are we still doing this?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" When like 3 minutes, this was about 5 minutes past the time we were supposed to speak, but 3 minutes prior to the time we were supposed to talk, I said I have to talk to Dave in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And in those 3 minutes, like just completely like lost everything.
Does happen.
So I get on the call and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, man. Like, this is one of those weeks where I'm literally questioning everything that I'm doing. It's the life of the entrepreneur. Like, the podcast sucks. We have no support. Like, everybody hates us. And then, and then by noon, I'm like, we have the best podcast ever. Everybody supports us. We're doing all these things. And then by dinner, I'm like, shut it down. It's over.
That's the life, man. That's the life. Absolutely.
But you've gone off and you built Power Monkey. So let's talk
Such a
for a
good
minute.
name.
It's the
Thank you. It
best.
was actually an existing name.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was an existing mom and pop shop that used to make rigs down in Florida. And we brought our ring thing to them as a piece of apparatus that we thought would be great for the CrossFit community. And this is like 10, 12 years ago. And they brought us on as partners, and then we brought them out and turned it into what it is today, education and events. Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's talk about it, because you've got kind of these three pillars: events, you have the camp, and you have the retreats and the functions that you do.
Sure.
So talk about the vision behind the company, what you saw, where you saw the opportunity in the market, and said, look, I got the experience, and how are we going to do it?
Yeah, again, like this transition is important. I think just as a quick little segue onto the transition, it's very challenging. You talked about it from the military side, how it's very similar being a collegiate or an elite athlete, and transitioning when your identity is attached to this particular thing, being an athlete. Who am I without being an athlete? And, I was fortunate to have an education along with it, but I was considering going to medical school or going to PT school. My area of concentration is in human biology and psychology, and so I didn't go on to those things. So to open up a business, I have no business background. I didn't have the necessary tools to be able to be an entrepreneur. So for me, while I felt like I was in a little bit of a better situation, a lot of athletes homeschooled. They didn't get a college education, and then they are done with their Olympic journey. Maybe they won a medal. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they're a gold medalist in a sport that maybe is a niche sport, doesn't have a ton of support. Even a gold medal doesn't guarantee very much in terms of next steps, the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
I mean, very few of us are Michael Phelps, right? Where you can build a brand around it, where you have sponsorships that will put some money in your pocket.
And during
Absolutely.
post
exactly.
competition. I mean, it's one
the
of the
lifespan is short.
It's one of the biggest reasons why I love speaking with former Olympic athletes. I shouldn't say that, but almost more than any other professional athletes, because you share this background that so identifies with the military, right?
Yeah.
And what I've gone through. And I'm 7 years out, and I still wake up every day and say, what am I going to be when I grow up?
Absolutely.
And what's that network going to look like, and how am I going to get through this? And we're sitting in front of the Army truck, so have I even truly, a few times this week gone around and looking at guys going, I'm going to tune this guy up, and be like, okay, well, you can't. You're not even in the Army anymore, let alone in his chain of command. And so, do you ever really separate from that? But what they have in common is, unlike a professional athlete, a baseball player or football players, people say money doesn't change things, but money does change things. And when you've made millions of dollars, assuming you haven't squandered it during your playing days, you have runway.
Sure.
And you have comfort to figure it out. When you leave the military, it's in the rearview mirror, and your bank account is not that large.
Yep.
Just like Olympic athletes. And so you have all of the challenges of the mental and emotional struggle of identification without the financial support of, well, if it takes me 3 years to figure it out, I still got millions of dollars in the bank.
Without a doubt. Yeah, we don't have that in gymnastics, right?
Yeah.
Even the best of them. Maybe you're Simone. The few that are generational athletes. I was not one of those. And really, if you want to stay involved with the sport, because you can go on and do other things, right? But if you want to stay involved with the sport, there's really three paths. You can open up a gym and become a coach. You can go to the stunt world, which a lot of our gymnast friends go on to do. Or you can go to the circus. And that's a very real path for a lot of former gym. My college teammate is on his 20th year at Ka now in Vegas.
Yes.
And, a lot of our... Ka's a great show, and I've seen it 30 times over the years to watch him perform. But those are the paths if you want to stay involved in your sport. And I feel very fortunate in the sense that right when I was finishing my my competitive career, CrossFit was emerging. And CrossFit has really created a niche, a fourth niche, an area for us to stay involved in our sport, to be able to teach that doesn't require us to teach kids. And teaching kids is fantastic. Next generation, I want to help out, absolutely. But this is a whole new demographic of athletes that is in love with our sport that didn't grow up doing it. So for me, I looked at the CrossFit space as an opportunity. I didn't look at it the way that maybe a lot of gymnasts did, and gymnastics coaches early on, and even weightlifters and weightlifting coaches did early on, of saying they're bastardizing our sport. What the hell was that snatch? What are they doing on the rings? That is disgusting. Why would they ever do that movement? I looked at it as an opportunity to be able to say, we can help you get better.
Yeah.
This is amazing that there are rings hanging from gyms all over the country,
Yeah.
now all over the world. This is incredible that people want to do handstands. How can we get people to understand how to do them better, more technically sound, and for longevity? So for us, it was an opportunity to be able to say there's a whole new space for us to be able to give our expertise to the world. So it opened up an avenue that was not there prior to be able to, for us to continue with our passion and to teach in this new space. So for us, it just came about at the right time. I fell in love with CrossFit. End of 2008, I started doing this in my own gym when I was coaching at Stanford. CrossFit headquarters was right down the block in Santa Cruz. Started doing some videos for them and getting more involved and getting involved with CrossFit Gymnastics and teaching seminars and writing the level 2 course for CrossFit Gymnastics. And so for me, it was just a natural fit at the right time. So it was a little bit of capitalizing on this niche happening with me trying to figure out what my next step was. So I look at it as an advantageous time with me being able to say, I want to continue my sport, but I don't want to take those other 3 existing paths. And CrossFit was kind of the right niche for me. Yep.
That's so cool. And I love, especially with teaching adults, there's just a different level of gratitude, I think, where
100%.
Kids, I think, expect to be learning things all the time. And to see an adult gain a new skill, a new ability, a superpower.
Totally different. I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. Because they want to be there. A lot of times kids are forced to be there. Maybe their parents want them to do a sport. Even, I coached the national team, helped with the Olympic team, helped with Stanford, helped with some of the best athletes in the world. But a lot of times, maybe their passion's not there, they're doing it for different reasons. But if you find someone that's later in life that doesn't have to be doing something, but just decides 5 days a week I'm going to go into a gym and work on handstands, that's a special group of people. That's someone who has your attention.
Yeah.
So for me, working with adults has been an incredible demographic. It's a type of person, an athlete, that didn't exist, like I said, prior to CrossFit, and has given me this newfound or continuing love for teaching. Like, in fact, I hated the idea of coaching. I never thought of myself as a coach. When I was competing, I was like, it's about me. In fact, you have to be very selfish when you're an athlete. You have to be all about you if you want to be able to succeed. Everyone's surrounding you as an athlete to be able to achieve that thing. And I never thought I had it in me to be like my coach. And I just had an unfortunate, I moved to Italy for a year, and I was planning to step away from the sport, and I got injured. I fell skiing for my first time in Innsbruck, Austria. My first run, I fell and I blew my knee out in the first 50 feet of skiing. And I said, I'm never doing this again. And I had to have knee surgery for the 3rd time in Italy. And while I was recovering, while I was going through rehab, I started coaching at a local gym in Rome and coaching kids. And there were some adults there. And I started to really enjoy it and find this love for coaching people that were just doing it because they enjoyed flipping and doing handstands. And I couldn't believe how much joy they were having. And it kind of made me find this love for coaching that I never thought I had. And then CrossFit kind of extended and kind of exploded it. And now I love waking up every day and being appreciative for the fact that I get to do something that I enjoy so much. So Mondays are my favorite day. How many people get to wake up every day and say, Monday is the day that I look forward to the most because it's the day that I get to start my week coaching and start working with people. And don't get me wrong, there's shitty days and there are days I don't want to be doing things, it's part of the deal. But I despise the idea of retiring. I despise the idea of looking forward to the day where you don't have to do the thing that you do majority of your day. For me, it's like such a missed opportunity of what life should be about. So for me, like, CrossFit has afforded me the opportunity to actually find a passion beyond a competitive gymnast.
You know what they say about retirement? I'll take heat for this. It's an employee mindset. Retirement's an employee mindset.
Sure.
It's not an entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah, I
not
totally get that, absolutely.
An elite mindset.
Now, the challenge, I think, is getting the employees to buy in to what the entrepreneur and what the model, what the business is trying to achieve. And I struggle with this, too, because I love my team, and I think they love what our business model is about, creating community and teaching. But, I think you need equity. You need to feel
ownership.
like it's part of you.
Yeah.
But being able to get employees to buy in beyond just checking in and checking out and getting a paycheck every month, I think that's a real struggle. And I think, it's something that I and trying really hard to be able to, and I feel like my team does,
Yeah.
but it's something I ask other entrepreneurs too. How do you get your team to buy in as much as you do? How do you get them to care?
It's very challenging, and when I talk about the struggles that I have in building the podcast, building my security business, and building my leadership coaching business, because all three of these things, somehow I decided it was a good idea to try to start three businesses all at once and quit quit my other job. But you got to make that commitment sometimes, right? You got to say, look, I have opportunity cost that I'm losing right now. Is there going to be short-term or what's turning out to be medium-term discomfort, financially and emotionally, and often taking a toll physically? Because I too am getting kicked all night by little children. But you got to make that commitment sometimes and say, well, look, I wear this bracelet on my wrist that says whatever it takes,
Love
right?
it.
Because every day I'm going to get up and I'm going to put this on and I'm going to say, I don't know what's going to happen today, but it's going to be whatever it takes. And, something's going to happen if I continue to put the work in all day long and do this, and good things are going to come. But at the end of the day, I know that when I go to bed right now, nobody cares about it more than I do.
Absolutely.
And I have to own that. And so there has to be empowerment almost and comfort in myself, knowing that the person right now who's going to do the work to get me there has to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one else now that I can rely on. And will I get there? Yes. Will I find those people? Yes. Will they care as much as I do? Hopefully. Mm-hmm. Will I need 100 people to? That'd be amazing, but that's unrealistic.
Sure.
Can I find 1, 2, or 3 in each of these things who look at it and say, yes, I own this. I take ownership of this as much as you do, and I'm going to put that same level of work, and then that's where it's all going to turn the corner. And so you just tirelessly, we talk about in the military and in special forces, we talked about relentless pursuit.
Yep.
We win global war on terrorism. We win because we have a relentless pursuit to track down and destroy our enemies.
Yep.
And when we build a business, we have to have the relentless pursuit of precision execution, knowing that we're going to fail, knowing that we're going to make mistakes, but getting up day in and day out and saying, that shit sucked.
Yeah.
And let's do it again. Let's do it again.
I think it's a great way to put it. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And, we're a small business. But one of the things I'm really proud of is that we're still here.
Yeah.
We're still here. Our first time presenting at CrossFit Games was 2013, 10 years ago. I had a booth at a lot of the games over the years. And a lot of businesses that had been here over those 10 years, big businesses, are not around anymore.
Yes.
And for us to still be around, I'm proud of that. We've taken small incremental steps. We haven't made any gigantic leaps and bounds. We've changed a lot of people's lives. I think we've created a really strong community, and we've done it on an incremental basis. So for me, the fact that we're still here and we're still growing, as slow as it is, that's something I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, can you tell me a little more about how the Power Monkey camps work?
Sure. So, you're mentioning, Fran, a little bit about our events. It's one of our pillars. The camp is what most people know us for. We're in our 10th year. We do 2 a year, one in the fall and one in the spring. So it's our 10-year anniversary is coming up at the end of September 24th to the 30th. It's sold out. We're very excited. But the camp itself is a full week-long adult fitness camp. Now, the facility is a kids gymnastics camp in the summer. It's called Flip Fest. It's one of the best gymnastics camp there is. So if you have a kid out there doing gymnastics, I would highly recommend checking out Flip Fest. It's owned by 2 Olympic gymnast buddies of mine, John McCready and John Roethlisberger. And I've been going out to the facility for close to 20 years. It's beautiful, 150-acre campus, 32-acre lake. We just expanded the gym space, so we have 50,000 square foot of gym space now. We have 17 cabins. Rosie Joe, who's one of the provider of meals to all of the athletes out here, is our chef for the week, so we have amazing food. Some of the best coaches and trainers in the entire world in specialty areas come out. We have about 40 coaches in all different specialties. Chris Hinshaw is our endurance coach. And we just live and train and eat and learn from each other for an entire week. And when we first did our camp, I thought that if we put together a great informational week, it would be incredible. That we could bring in these great minds and teach people in an environment that was really like no other. Like really cool, like a kids camp. Like if you ever went to gymnastics camp when you were a kid, something that maybe reminded you of what it was like to be a kid. S'mores at night and hanging out and going by the lake and all those fun things. What I didn't expect is the experience that came about organically because of the people that were there. And what really gave me this idea that maybe we have something special in our hands is the last day of our first camp, He had the bus come and pick people up to take them back to the airport. And mind you, that first camp we had 30 people. 30 participants and 30 coaches. The ratio is pretty amazing. In fact, people left not wanting to tell anyone about it because they're like, we just want this for ourselves. Like, we have one-on-one coaching all week. They didn't want to tell anyone. But everyone was getting on the bus and everyone was crying. And everyone was crying after a week of being together. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that these participants and coaches were crying about what a week could do for the bonds that could be created in that type of environment. And I saw people get on the bus crying, and I said, this is bigger and more impactful than I could have ever written down on paper. And while the information is amazing, and I really think it's something that is better than most, weekend courses out there because of how in-depth you can get over the course of a week, everything that you get from an informational standpoint is tenfold on the emotional impact and the human connection. Wi-Fi is not great out there. Cell phone service is not great out there. We recommend you put your phones away and just be with people for an entire week. You don't get that too often these days. And camp is something that kind of has exceeded all of our expectations in terms of the human impact. It's really, really something special. It's one of my babies, my third baby. I have 2 little girls in camp. Me and my wife are very proud of it. She's a part of camp. She helps run it. She's been there from the beginning. My partner, Shane Garrity, who's a stuntman, New York, Hollywood, he went the stunt route after his gymnastics career. We're so proud of what camp has become. We're so proud of the fact that we get to celebrate our 10 years, 20th camp. But we hope that we have many, many more ahead of us because it really is something that I think the community needs and the community has grown because of. Yeah.
Nice. So magical.
It really is. It's cool.
So sold.
It's an awesome week.
Can we go now?
I know it kind of comes off as like a sales pitch, but it's my favorite 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
I love going. It's like a big family reunion.
No, but creating that it's about its experience.
It really is.
Right? And we can go out there and we can develop training courses and we can put them online or send them out and people will do them, and sure, they'll make improvements, they'll do great, but when you immerse somebody into that environment and you take away their external communication and you force people to talk to each other. I mean, Jessie, remember we interviewed Michael Chernow, and at Sandlot. And he said, what happens when you go into a crowded room and you don't know anybody? What is the first thing you do? You pull out your cell phone and you pretend to look cool.
Look how busy
like,
I am. I'm very busy.
So many things going on, yeah.
He said, what if you just put that phone down? Put it in your pocket. Don't do it. And go talk to 10 people. Can you challenge yourself to talk to 10 people? And what's the connection that you're going to find?
Yeah. And it's challenging to do, though.
Hard.
Oh, for sure.
Especially people who are maybe, a little shy, a little introverted. It's not the easiest thing to do that. It's important. What we do, we force it a little bit at camp. We put everyone in groups, and on the first day you arrive, go through introductions, tell people what the week is going to look like. We get you into your group that you're going to stay with throughout our sessions, and we do little games. We do a couple hours of games to get to know each other, to really build that connection right off the bat. And we had to learn that. The first few camps we didn't do it, and it took by Wednesday for people to feel comfortable. And we started to learn, it sucks that we miss out half of the week for people to open up. So these games have accelerated that process. I feel like, okay, you got to get hands-on with this person. You got to hold hands with them, and you got to work on these stupid little games that force people to get to know each other's names. Where are you from? Why are you here? What are you trying to get out of this? And it's really allowed us to kind of accelerate that process a little bit. Yeah.
So you know what I do in my leadership seminars? We bring them in, and we go through about a quick 15-minute, hey, welcome. Like you said, do a quick intro. Then we talk about mission, and we talk about values, tie in why is mission important in an organization, because that's how you get everybody aligned to that mission. And then we do a workout. And that workout is about an hour, depending on the fitness level of the group, right? We scale it. And there's 3 components. We start as individuals. So we spend about 15 minutes doing squats, push-ups, sit-ups, all individual stuff. Cadre-led, up, down, up, down. And then we say, all right, break up into teams of 3 to 4. And now we introduce a log or some sandbags, but some of that are de-ringed together, or a bar, a loaded bar. And we'll put 3 people on the bar and say, now do a squat. And all of a sudden you got people, they can't do a squat. And it's like, okay, you guys don't know each other, but you now have to make a transition from doing something that you just did 80 squats
Right.
5 minutes ago. How come you can't do a squat right now? Because you're not communicating, you're not working together because you don't know each other
Sure.
yet. And so then we do about 20 minutes of these events that
Love
are
it.
all team-based, small groups. And then after that, we do a relay. And where we break them into 2 groups and they got to compete, but it's a relay, 3 or 4 events, push the sled, do the kettlebell, do some pull-ups, come back, but now they got to cheer each other on.
Oh, yeah.
And they got to work together. And what we find is at the end of that hour, this group that an hour ago didn't talk to anybody, came in, sat down, and I'll always ask them, who's forced to be here, who volunteered to be here. Now the phones are away, and they spend that next little break that we have laughing, joking, getting to know each other, and it opens up the entire leadership seminar for the rest of the day as an environment where they're ready to work together, because then in the afternoon when we kick them out into the field and do some special forces team building events, now they're working together.
It's funny, it doesn't take very long, right?
No.
You just have to have the right stimulus to be able to get people to find that bond. The one thing I will say about camp too is that people will think that it's for elite athletes. It's like, I'm intimidated by promo materials or seeing some of the games athletes there. We have people who are teenagers all the way to mid-80s come out and hang out with us. They're all put together. You'll get a games athlete in your group with somebody in their 80s, never get into handstand before, scared to pick up a barbell. Your fitness level does not matter. We gear it towards the most beginner level athlete and build up the foundation from there. So I want people to understand, don't be intimidated by, thinking that it's out of your league from a fitness perspective. Everyone is 100% welcome, and I guarantee you we'll find a way to make it appropriate for wherever you're at. So it makes it more accessible to everybody.
Have you seen Jessie's mom?
I have seen her, some of the videos that you've posted. She's pretty freaking phenomenal. Yeah, she's an impressive athlete. Yeah.
She could use some help on her handstand, though.
Well, I'm sure you could help her yourself, but if you want to bring her to camp, we can. That's my session at camp. So we have 10 breakout sessions that people go through 2 hours. There's 3 gymnastics, 3 weightlifting, a running station, a kettlebell station, a rowing station, and a jump rope station.
Okay.
And I teach the handstand one. That's kind of being upside down is where I very much enjoy my days. But the technical side of gymnastics is my passion of breaking movement down, analyzing people's movement patterns, being able to give appropriate progressions and ways that people can go back home and be able to really work on these things. But happy to help her with her handstands.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's next? I know you're developing the app.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a next focus, but where's the company going over the next
year or
so?
The other side, education, events, education. We did have equipment, our ring thing, which, you brought up in the beginning, is kind of our only piece of equipment that we have right now. It's more of a marketing tool. It's a great piece of equipment. But the events, we're continuing to grow. Camp, we're still doing twice a year. As I mentioned, fall camp, our 20th is sold out, but we do have available spots for our spring camp, end of April 28th to beginning of May 4th. That one's for sale right now. We do our courses, so we teach 1 and 2 day weightlifting and gymnastics courses, kettlebell as well, around the world. So we normally do about 20 to 25 of those around the world each year. And then we have our retreats, kind of higher end fit vacation type things. We just came back from Crete, Greece. We did 2 out there, spectacular locations, smaller groups, 10 to 12 people. Me, Hinshaw, and Mike Service, one of our weightlifting coaches, endurance, gymnastics, and weightlifting all together. We bring out some doctors. We bring out a masseuse.
Sounds awesome.
It's spectacular. The location was amazing. Food's great. We go on boat trips. We go hiking. It's a very luxurious type of fitness vacation. So we offer those as well. But on the education side, we're expanding more. We unveiled our app, Power Monkey Training, earlier this year. And it's a way to work with us in a more advanced way. We have a lot of skill development programs in there. Learn your handstand for the first time, learn a pull-up, learn a pull-over, learn a press to handstand. We built out from there. So we have a GPP gymnastics program that is 3 to 6 days a week that we call Monkey Method, that incorporates all areas of being a better gymnastics for fitness type of approach. Handstands, bar work, ring work, mobility, core work, all the things that go along with being a good all-around gymnast within the CrossFit or fitness, functional fitness space. We have volume plans. So if you're a competitive athlete that want to take one muscle up to 5 to 10 to 20 unbroken, how do you do that? So we have volume plans for skill-specific training, which is something that we've been talking a lot about with somebody like Chris Hinshaw that spends his world around capacity training, but very little discussion about how you build capacity for skills. Because in gymnastics, there's never been a reason why, we get that question all the time as a gymnast from a CrossFitter, what's your 30 muscle up for time? I have no idea. Why would I ever do 30 muscle for time before CrossFit? No reason.
Yeah.
But we've built out ways to be able to approach it rather than a sledgehammer approach of saying, well, I did 10 last week, I'm going to try to do 11 this week.
Right.
Much more kind of scalpel approach to volume building within skill-specific capacity. And then we have a fourth one that we call 365 plans. Little bite-sized plans that are meant to be done every day. The consistency around these things is so critical. The first one is Core 365, a 5 to 10 minute core workout every day that just comes up free on the app. You just sign up and create an account, you get a free workout, and you get free access to our video database. But for us, that way of extending our tools, starting with gymnastics in the app, building to weightlifting, and then building plans to our other Power Monkey coaches at camp is going to be where we're going to be going in the future. So there'll be kettlebell plans, there'll be endurance plans, there'll be rowing plans, there'll be jump rope plans. For all the experts that you see out here, they're all of our coaches in the Power Monkey world. Chris Hinshaw, Dave Newman, who owns RX Jump Ropes, the best jump ropes in the market. Jeff
I love those
Martone,
jump ropes.
RX is the best. Jeff Martone, who was SME for CrossFit Kettlebell for years, him and his staff are our kettlebell coaches. We have all Olympic gold medalist rower is our rowing coach. So we have a very elite staff when it comes to coaching. Again, all former elite athletes who transitioned into being elite coaches. So we feel like we have a very unique staff in terms of how we present our coaching materials. So our app is something we're very proud of. You can find it on iOS and Android. And yeah, you come hang out with us virtually if you can hang out with us in person.
Sounds good.
I need to get it. I like the 5 minute core.
Every day. It's a great way to kind of just a touch of the importance around building a strong core.
Yeah.
And we say core, it's not just your beach muscles, not just your abs, maybe your hip flexors, rotation, lateral work, oblique work, posterior chain, everything that comes along with a strong core. In gymnastics, a strong core leads to all of our movement. So without that, you're missing out on a fundamental piece on being able to what we call create good shapes. So for us, it's just something 5 to 10 minutes every day, just you can supplement to whatever your watt is for that day.
Yeah.
Yep. Noodles can't tumble.
Exactly. Yep. You know it.
Never heard that. I like it. Dave, as we close out, the Jedburghs in World War II had to do 3 things every day to be successful. They had to be able to shoot, they had to be able to move, and they had to be able to communicate. Those were their habits or their core foundational tasks. If you execute your core foundational tasks with precision, like you said, if that's your core that you don't have to think about in the moment of execution, you can focus on more complex challenges like the pommel vault, the pommel horse, or the vault or something, right?
We had Boz on our podcast this week, and Cody Anderson, former games athlete, former gymnast, did circles, a pommel horse movement on some plates the other day, and I asked Boz whether or not we're going to see that in the games.
Oh, nice.
It's possible in the future. So all listeners out there, start training your pommel horse moves because we might see that at the games in the near future.
That'd be
according
crazy.
To Boz. You never know. Starting to see some fun stuff on the gymnastics side.
Can we work on some of that today?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If we get enough plates, we can definitely do it.
Well, what are the 3 things that you do every day in your world to set the conditions for success?
Well, one is spend time with my kids, because for me, that's my separation from the business side. Being a dad is something that no matter what, the business is, on an up or on a down, being a good dad to me always resets me. So I want to be there for my kids. I want to be able to give them the ability to present someone that they're proud of and that they know they can come to if they have struggles. And for me, spending time with my kids is hugely important on a daily basis. I feel like being able to work from home allows me to do that. I travel a lot, but when I'm at home, spending time with my kids is hugely important, and with my wife. 2, working out. I have to get something in each day to be able to feel like I'm mentally capable to get after the day. My wife will tell me sometimes too, you need to go work out. Like, can you just go to the gym? We have a little gym in the house now. It's like, you need to go do something because you're annoying all of us right now.
I get
so
that.
go reset. You need to be able to actually be here present with us. So go do your handstands for half an hour, whatever you're doing, come back and then be present. And then lastly, check in with my team. Check in with my team to make sure that they're on point. They know what's going on. It doesn't take very long. I don't think daily long, hour-long meetings are important. Just small check-in to make sure everyone's on task and make sure everyone knows kind of what the objectives are for the week. But I think checking in with them, being present with my kids, and then working out are 3 things on a daily basis that I really try to achieve.
Awesome.
Yep.
Love it. Yeah. I 100% agree with you. And I like how you're like, we don't have to have the long meetings.
No, they're not helpful. They kind of go off into no man's land most of the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What are you doing for the rest of the weekend here? Well, there's only one more day, so
Absolutely. So, we're coming to the close of another great games. I'm going to spectate. I love watching these athletes just conquer the world and do the amazing things that they do. Doing more activations with great sponsors that we have on board with our Power Monkey Camp, the Victory Grips, the RX Smart Gears, the Fit Aids, the people that we are really tied closely to with our Power Monkey Camp. So for us, it's a reunion, shaking hands, kissing the babies, all the things that we do, and then teaching. So hopefully we'll be able to do a handstand seminar here with the Army, and then teaching other people just what Power Monkey is all about. So I'll be here for another day, hopefully being in contact with as many people that want to be a part of what Power Monkey is doing before I head back out.
Everyone wants to be a power monkey.
Right? Who doesn't?
We're going to start with me because I need some training in handstands and some gymnastics. So if you're ready
Let's
to get after it
man.
with me,
Absolutely.
I'm ready to do
Let's
it.
make it happen. Get you upside down. It's always fun to see big dudes, rowers, people that you don't anticipate getting upside down, do a beautiful handstand. That makes my heart happy.
Let's make it happen. Thanks, Dave.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jessie.
Awesome. American Jedburghs went out to form the foundation of the United States Special Forces and the Special Activities Director to the Central Intelligence Agency. Thanks for listening to the Jedburgh Podcast. I'm your creator and host, Fran Racioppi. Join us next week for a new episode on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube for full episodes, highlights, and other behind-the-scenes content. If you like what you heard, give us a like and leave a review. Follow me, Fran Racioppi, Jessie Graff, Talent War Group, and our CrossFit Games sponsors, U.S. Army, Wodify, GoRuck, and Hero Coffee on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, or X. Send your comments and inquiries to fran@jedburghpodcast.com. As a former member of Special Forces, the Jedburgh Podcast donates a percentage of all proceeds to the Green Beret Foundation, supporting America's Special Forces and their families. Thanks for joining us on this episode. How you prepare today determines success tomorrow.